Red Bull is going through a very rough patch right now, and it seems like it won't go away that soon. After the allegations against Horner have been cleared, there are some strong figures in the Austrian team that do not want to see the Brit remain as the team principal. And more importantly, an ultimatum has been set, where the Austrian brand might have to choose between Horner and Verstappen. So, could this civil war in Red Bull turn out with Verstappen taking his talents to Mercedes? And how does Mercedes get to benefit from all this as the third party involved? It's very clear that Red Bull is facing some huge internal issues right now. But what seemed to be a battle between the ownership of the team has swiftly turned into a battle between Jos Verstappen, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, with the former two having a huge ace in their sleeve, and that's Max Verstappen. Although Horner's stance is that there will never ever be a driver who is above the team, as proven by his statements in Monaco in 2022, the aspirations of the Verstappen-Marko clan are now crystal clear. And it seems like we found out where they get their motives from. It seems like Christian Horner tried to take an ownership stake in Red Bull after the passing of Dietrich Mateschitz, thanks to the support of the tie-back side by Nvidia. However, this has been swiftly prevented by the son of Dietrich, Mark, who appointed Oliver Mintzlaff to overlook the entire racing operation of Red Bull and effectively prevent Horner from grabbing more than he would want to, keeping him at bay by giving him the positions of the CEO of Red Bull F1 Racing and the team principal. Be that as it may, Horner's plans would have been to get rid of Helmut Marko and bring a new team advisor, so it's very likely that the counter-attack planned by Marko and Jos is now in full attack mode. This can be proven by many scenarios that already happened. For starters, Jos Verstappen has been seen arguing with Christian Horner just a couple of days after his controversial statements that we'll mention later today. And to top that off, the father of the three-time world champion held meetings with Toto Wolff on multiple occasions, ones that the Austrian labelled to be quite incidental ones, and ones that have likely revolved around Verstappen's future in Mercedes. While it's difficult to imagine Max getting out of Red Bull, now that they're in their most dominant period of their existence, and with no real competition to dethrone the Dutchman, not even his teammate, they're holding the keys to success until the 2026 season. Perez has ultimately failed to be competitive to the point that Red Bull would have wanted in order to prove Verstappen that he's not the only one who can deliver top-notch results with the team. And the signings of Norris and Leclerc with their respective teams prove that there is no other high-profile driver other than Alonso and Sainz with whom Red Bull could threaten the dominance of Verstappen in their own team. All of this seems a bit unnecessary, and the fact that Red Bull might have shot themselves in the foot with their actions goes to show that it's not really something they could have anticipated when the entire allegation case against Horner has been started. It's truly an avalanche situation. Trying to get rid of the man who won 13 championships for you has been an integral part of the team since their entrance in 2005 and is backed by the side that owns 51% of the team. Is a really massive project you could embark on. But bold moves bring bold outcomes, and one of them is Verstappen potentially activating his clause and getting rid of Red Bull prior to the extension of his contract, which is in 2028. But what does Jos have to say about Christian Horner? And more importantly, is he the one that leaked all of the allegations to the Dutch media, De Telegraaf? According to the controversial father of Max, that had nothing to do with him, as he would have no interest in doing such a thing. But the presence of Horner in the team is effectively intoxicating the rest of the squad. So when elaborating on this matter in a further extent, Jos went on to say, "There is tension in Red Bull while Horner remains in position. The team is in danger of being torn apart and it can't go on the way it is. It will explode. He's playing the victim when he's the one causing the problems. I didn't leak the information. That wouldn't make sense. Why would I do that when Max is doing so well here?" It does seem a bit contradictory because from one side, Jos is saying that Horner's presence is very bad for Red Bull, but on the other hand, he acknowledges that his son is doing an extremely good job in the Austrian squad. So causing issues out of nothing is definitely the last thing he wants to do right now. Be that as it may, Jos won't be present in the upcoming race in Jeddah, and to add salt to the wound, highly respected members from Red Bull said they do not feel threatened or endangered under Horner's leadership, nor that there is any tension in the team, as the 1-2 win in Bahrain proved that everything is running smoothly in the team. Obviously, there is a genuine power shift happening in Red Bull, and the question is, how big of a consequence will that bring to the table? For starters, Max Verstappen could opt out of his contract and sign one with Mercedes just to go on and prove that he can win a championship regardless of the nature of the car and that everything is in his own hands. That would be a massive statement, not only for his career, but also a huge slap in Hamilton's face, who left the team for that exact reason. Their lack of competitiveness and not listening to his feedback when it comes to how to properly build a car. And while you would expect Helmut Marko to deny any connections between Max and Mercedes, something that he's done earlier this year when saying that Wolff will definitely try to sign Max but he'll ultimately fail, the narrative has changed from the veteran Austrian. Now, Marko feels like there is a genuine chance Max could choose to leave the toxic environment that has caught the Austrian team by surprise, and there is nothing he could do in order to stop him, as he went on to add, "The internal investigations in Red Bull have been completed, and I won't say anything more about it. As far as I'm concerned, I won't stand in Max's way should he decide to leave." While there is literally no reason for Max to be leaving Red Bull right now, it's evident that the Austrian squad will enter a rough patch from 2026 onwards, mostly because Ford, the company that would be badging the engines of the Austrian team in the newly regulated era, is now looking for a way out of this relationship amid all of the drama and all of the controversy around Horner. The CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, has already expressed his disappointment with how the entire case lacked transparency towards them, and it's just another step down for Red Bull, who are now tipped to enter a huge slump of performance from 2026 onwards, where the massive accent will be put on engine performance and electrifications of the cars, not the aerodynamic performance like it is right now. And what's even worse is that Max's contract is very likely tied to Helmut Marko, so if the veteran Austrian decides to leave somewhere else, then the Dutchman is free to follow him, because after all, it's Marko who brought Verstappen to the ranks he is in right now, which is why he has such high respect for him in any regard. The relationship between the Verstappen family and Horner has deteriorated heavily, but they need to understand that this is no ordinary team principal they're dealing with. He's the CEO of Red Bull F1 and has been there ever since the team entered the sport in 2005, when Max was a toddler. So while you do have the talent and exceptional skills to drive a car, you do not stand behind the engineering concept that made the car so successful and potential in the first place. With all this in mind, the drama in Red Bull is very unlikely to end very swiftly, and another request that might cause even more trouble for Horner is the request of his partner, Jerry Horner, to stop any contact that Christian had with a female employee who accused him of the inappropriate behaviour. Everything is in turmoil, and Wolff has been silently waiting in the shadows to find out whether or not he would be able to sign Verstappen from 2025 onwards. As one thing is for sure, money won't be the issue. It's convincing Max that Mercedes can and will build a car that would suit his needs, and more importantly, he would be the one leading the pack and not Russell. So, do you think that Verstappen could leave Red Bull amid all of the drama happening in Red Bull? Let us know in the comments down below.